Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I have not done a video in a very long time. Oh.
Hi.
We got busy, school starting, end of the summer, all that stuff. And then we just got busy doing projects and I didn't really have time to edit videos, so I didn't want to make a bunch of videos and have them waiting. So anyway, I do have a surprise for you guys though. Apparently, stripping the paint off of all of the windows and redoing the attic and now talking about a whole bunch of renovations to the rest of the house was not enough for us. We had to go and add a garden to the side of the house. But I am going to be showing you how big this garden is and how involved this garden is going to be. But it's going to be amazing because we're going to grow so many of our own vegetables for the family. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to potentially be buying a dehydrator to try my hand at dehydrating some of the fruit and vegetables. We're going to be growing fruits and vegetables and some herbs in the garden for just mainly, I figured out what we eat a lot of and we're going to be growing that, and we're going to be preserving it this fall in a whole bunch of different ways. So stay tuned for that. Once we get all of this dug up, I have to then till the ground, but then I'm going to feed the soil. I got some cow manure and then I got bone and blood meal as well. And then after that, I'm going to be planting garlic that we can pull up next July and August. And then the real fun begins when we start the seeds next spring. Some of them start like February, March, but most of them start next spring. So that'll be fun trying to get that organized. So here, I'll show you guys the garden. This was all grass, and we started digging it up by hand at the far end. Down, where am I? Down here. We started digging that up by hand and then it was ridiculous. So I convinced Josh to get a sod cutter, and so you can see like the lines here and here. So now I'm going to finish rolling it up so that way I can start tilling the ground. As you can see, it's a pretty big garden and a pretty big task to take on, but we're going to tackle it and I'm really excited for it. I'm using the Farmer's Almanac Garden Planner to plan out like where the plants could go. It helps you figure out like what plants you should be planting beside each other and what plants you should not be planting beside each other, how much spacing you need for each plant. It'll space out the plants properly for you, and then it'll tell you in a summary like you can have this many broccoli plants in this row, and yeah, it's really customizable and amazing. I did the 7-day free trial and then Josh decided to expand my garden, so I ended up buying the subscription, and honestly it was only $30 for the year to do like a yearly renewal on it, and you can cancel anytime. So I was like, whatever, man, it's $30 and it's going to help me with my garden year after year. It can help me with like crop rotation. You can put notes on it as to, you know, specifically what variety of seed you grew, how well it did, what you would do differently, and keep all those notes for you so that next year you can basically learn from your mistakes and you're not having to make a journal of your own. So I really liked that. So but anyway, yeah, so I am going to get tilling this and rolling up the sod. So it's supposed to rain the next 3 days, so I better get moving. Alright guys, one thing I want to talk about, if you are renting a sod cutter to do gardening, which is what we did. This was all grass behind me, and I think it was Thanksgiving weekend, so starting on the 7th or 8th of October. So we figured out where we wanted the garden to be, and then we started doing it by hand, and I did the first probably about 5 feet by, I'd like to say 2 feet, but I'm pretty sure it was only like maybe a foot to a foot and a half wide, the first like little row, and I did it all by hand. We dug it up by hand. We did it in these like raw patches of dirt. We tried to cut like little 1-foot squares, put them into the wheelbarrow, bring them back, and that took all day. And finally I decided to look up on homedepot.ca. I looked up how much a sod cutter was to rent for the day, and it was less than $100 to rent for the day, or $70 to rent for 4 hours. Either one is good. If you're going to be quick about it and just cut it up and bring it back, the 4 hours is fine. We had Josh's stepdad there, and he ran the sod cutter most of the time, which was great. And then Josh and I was rolling the sod and Josh was moving the sod, and it was a really productive first day, and then it kind of teetered off. My focus has been getting everything off of the garden so I can get the soil like good to go for the fall, so that way, because I want to put a lot of compost in it. I got blood and bone meal to put into it too, so that way, because obviously there's never been a garden there before, I want to prep the soil really well for next spring, and then hopefully get some garlic in there this fall, but I don't know if it's going to happen. But anyway, so if you're renting a sod cutter to do what we just did, and they recommend putting it on a thicker setting, I recommend listening to them, because I'm not naming names, but somebody decided not to listen to the recommendation and they raised the level so you weren't cutting as thick into the ground. Problem with that is we have some really weird grass. It's not all great grass, it's not perfect sod, and there's like moss growing in the grass. So I don't know what's up with this grass, but there's patches of it that just kind of flake away, and then there's parts of it that are just like moss growing in the grass. Anyway. So what happens though is that it tears really easily. When it's not deep into the ground, it doesn't cut under that, it kind of gets caught up on that, and then you kind of have to like take it out of the ground, readjust, get back in. And then what happens is you miss patches. And what I'll show you in a few minutes are like what I had to deal with the whole time. Your lines might not meet up, so that's another downside that sucks, but it's way better than doing it by hand. Other option is just to totally like rototill the grass into your garden, but I didn't want to pick out weeds for the next few years trying to figure that out, and we're trying to go inexpensive, so I didn't want to buy the row covers because they're a little more expensive and out of our budget. So I'll show you what happens when you don't cut it deep enough. The other thing too is when you're rolling the sod to get it out of the soil, when it's thinner, it doesn't roll up as nicely, it just tears really easily. So when it's thicker, it does a really nice roll. So it starts off really nice, and then boom, it hits a jut, and we weren't able to get back in because I'm pulling it, it's not coming up until over here. So now I've got to take all this out by hand, which is not a big deal, it's better than doing the whole garden by hand. But the other thing is, let's see if we can see it here. Yeah, see how it's not easy to lift up right now, like parts of it is, but, and I'll show you, the grass is starting to reroot itself, and I've got, there's a row here, there's a row here, 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 all the way over to the water thing. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, so this is 5 here, and then I've got 4 more rows over there. I've got 4 more rows. Basically, I've got 5 more rows to roll up, and I've got to do it like within the next few days because it's rained a lot over the last couple days, so it's all starting to go back together, and that's not good. But the good thing you did see though, I've been reading a lot of gardening books, and I've been following, a big one is the Farmer's Almanac. I bought the little vegetable planter book guide thing, and they said if you dig up a 1 foot like cubic meter, no, a one foot cubed of your soil, and you count how many earthworms are in there. If you have 10 or more, your soil is really rich. But if you have less than 10, then we're gonna go inside. But if you have less than 10 earthworms in that foot cubed, then you should probably try and enrich your soil more. And we don't have a problem with earthworms. There are tons of them in there. The problem we have is grubs. So I've got to figure out how to get rid of the grubs. A quick Google search told me that, hang on, beneficial nematodes, I think is how you say it, will, if you spray them, they're like thousands, millions of bacteria, nematodes, I guess. They're like a little microscopic bug thing, but it'll go in and they're like worms, and they'll basically seek out grubs and all the things that shouldn't be in your garden, and then they attach themselves to it and they just basically kill it. So I've been trying to find those. I might have to wait till spring though, because it doesn't look like any of them are in stock. Anyway, I think that's going to be it for today. The boys get off the bus soon, and I got to go check on Jordana because she's napping right now. So I was hoping to get a few more rolled up, but at least I got some of the sod moved, and I'm starting to roll it up. I hope, because I think it's supposed to rain tomorrow. I'm hoping that the grass doesn't reroot too much, and that by the end of this weekend I can have this garden ready to go. Like I said, my focus is on getting the garden ready, and Josh just really wants to get the sod moved because it's free grass, so he can fix back there. There's a hill. Where is it? There's a hill over there, and it goes down to the creek area, and it was all just like dirt and grossness. And what he's done is he's transplanted all of the grass and put it down there on the hill, which is amazing. It's great. But it's not my focus, that's his focus. And so yeah, it's been tough trying to focus on two different things, because I'm trying to move the sod over there so he can work on it when he can, while I'm trying to get this garden. The next step right now, after I roll those pieces of grass up, the next step is I've got to till it all up, and I don't have a tiller, so I just have this like 3-prong cultivator, I guess is what they call it. So I'm going to try and hand do it a little bit, as much as possible, to see if there's any more big rocks. I don't know if you saw the big rocks in the beginning that I was moving, but there's 5 huge rocks so far. And then we're hopefully going to borrow Josh's stepdad's. He has one of the like gas-powered rototiller things. So hopefully after I make sure there's no huge rocks and I kind of get it tilled up, that we can maybe get that in there and just really till up the soil. I'd like to go like a good foot down in tilling up the soil. And yes, I did make sure we did a call before you dig, so there's no gas lines or anything in the way of the garden except for where our gas meter is, and they spray painted where exactly it is, and so I made sure we stayed a good 2 feet-ish away from that line. So we're not going to bother that line at all, and it just goes, it comes out a little bit and it goes straight out to the road, so it doesn't go diagonal or anything, which is awesome. So anyway, that's it for now.